What do you say, everybody? Tough night for the Chicago Cubs. Mick Gillispie's going to have some words on David Ross because I'm seeing all over the internet that manager David Ross is the reason the Chicago Cubs lost that game. We'll get into that. But the juicy topic of today's show is Saturday's starter against the Toronto Blue Jays. It's the Chicago Cubs ace, and that is Justin Steele. Could he be a potential Cy Young winner in 2023? We'll get into that in just a second, but first, this is Cubs Baseball Channel. Chuck Walter, Mick Gillispie. Be sure to subscribe, share with your buddies, share with your families, share with the milkman, the local librarian, whoever it may be, share with them, because once we hit 1K, we're giving away that Ryan Sandberg autographed baseball. All right, so the big topic today, Justin Steele and the National League Cy Young chances. You're a big gambler, right, Nick?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really bet on baseball because
you probably shouldn't say that. There's like a giant sign inside Smokey Stadium that says, "If you bet on baseball, we will kill you."
Look, I love like college football and paying attention to the odds. I love the odds, and it's fun to look at Justin Steele right now because I don't feel like anyone's really running away with the Cy Young Award, and I think he could win it.
What a hypocritical world the gambling society has come to. For the longest time, it was baseball, gambling, do not mix. Now it's welcome to MLB, sponsored by DraftKings. With that being said, let's get you the DraftKings odds of the National League Cy Young. Justin Steele's right there. He's tied for third right now. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks' Zac Gallen, who's the leader in the clubhouse at plus 200. And what that means is if you were to bet $100, you'd be winning $200 back. If you were to bet $10, you'd be winning $20 back. Blake Snell's at plus 250, 10 wins you 25, etc. Spencer Strider's at plus 500, and Justin Steele is tied with him at plus 500. Steele right now has been incredible. A 2.6 ERA, a 13-3 record. Why shouldn't Justin Steele win this year's National League Cy Young?
Well, look, I think he's got a really good chance to do it. I mean, he's just going to have to go out there and continue what he's done already. And that's, first off, stay healthy. And then, once you kind of do that for him, the rest of it's come together. I mean, he hasn't had many bad outings at all. And he's the reason why the Cubs are in the position that they're in right now. And that is that, let's throw up the standings, that they have a chance to win the division. And they also have a chance to make the wild card, or, one or the other. And he's been their ace.
Yeah, you look at Cincinnati and Chicago tied right now at 2.5 behind Milwaukee. Milwaukee's got all the arms, one of the best rotations in baseball. Chicago's looking pretty top-heavy right now, and Justin Steele's leading the way. They had to wait a long time for their fruits of their labor to come into play here with Steele. They drafted him in 2014, a high school pick in the 5th round of the MLB draft. And in 2021, when he made his MLB debut, he had a 4.26 ERA, followed that up with a 3.18 last year. And now it's looking like Justin Steele is a star, and he's going to be a star in this league for a long time. What's interesting is Chicago, aside from Steele in the last 10 years, have not really developed any starting pitchers. You look at their rotation right now, and you look at when they won the World Series, it was, Jake Arrieta. It was John Lester. It was pitchers that they did not develop. Some of these high school draft picks or collegiate draft picks that they've had over the years that were prospects, Trevor Clifton, Dwayne Underwood, Oscar De La Cruz, Albert Alzolay was another one, but Alzolay obviously has gone to the bullpen. And really the only one in the last 7-8 years that's had a lot of success is Dylan Cease, and they traded him. So Justin Steele is kind of the poster child right now for breaking the stigma, I guess you could say.
And he had a lot of injuries in the minor leagues, and I've been definitely critical of the way that the Cubs develop. I think that they're too soft, that they're too worried about analytics, and they hold a lot of guys back. They just released their former first-round pick, and somebody else is going to get him, and he's a good pitcher, right? And I'm talking about Ryan Jensen. And I watched him pitch, and, half the time, because of all of the rules and regulations that they have, the guy didn't pitch 2 or 3 innings, and it's like, well, he threw 30 pitches in this one and he did this. Yeah, but what did you get out of it by releasing him? Would you rather him gotten hurt trying or go to another organization and then they get it figured out? But Steele was hurt a lot. He just kind of eventually figured it out as he moved up through the system and got bigger and stronger. And, I'm in Biloxi right now with the Cubs AA affiliate, and his hometown is, less than an hour from here, so he was a real popular figure when we came down to play the Shuckers. The other thing about him is I love the guy. I mean, he's a fantastic guy. He loves the game of baseball. He loves talking about the game of baseball. You met him out on the street. He's just a good person. And he's a student of the game. That was something else that I noticed with him. So that's why I said if he stays healthy, I mean, I think that if the guy stays healthy, he's got the potential to win this Cy Young award. And look, I mean, why not put a little bit of cash on him to win the Cy Young? Because if the Cubs make the playoffs, and I think that's going to happen, and you look at the way that the schedule lines out for these guys, there's a lot of, winnable games in there. It's going to be him probably that leads the way.
We mentioned the plus 500 odds for Justin Steele to win the Cy Young. 7 of Steele's last 8 starts have been quality, so he's been the quality start king for Chicago. August hasn't gotten off to the greatest start. It's actually been his worst month of the year. Has plenty of chances to rectify that, but he does have a 4.76 ERA in his 2 starts. He's lined up to pitch Saturday against the Toronto Blue Jays, a huge 3-game series after the Cubs just lost their first slate since they went to Boston. It's been just about a month since the Cubs have actually come back down to life and lost a series against a major league team, whether that be good or bad. They beat a lot of bad teams during that stretch, but they also took 3 of 4 from Cincinnati, who was in first place at the time, and they took 2 of 3 from the Atlanta Braves. The pitching matchups is as follows, and I'm not going to get to the Blue Jays, but Javier Assad starts Friday with the off day on Thursday. Justin Steele goes on Saturday. James Taillon goes on Sunday.
I think David Ross is one of the best managers in baseball, one of the 5 best. Look, here's my explanation to that, Charlie. I want to tell you and I want to tell everyone else out there. First off, I think he's the right guy for the job. His pedigree is perfect. I remember him as a player. I remember the struggles that he had getting to the big leagues from AAA, all of that work that came in. And then everyone knows what he did when he was part of the Cubs. And he was like the Robin to John Lester's Batman, right? And did such a fantastic job with that. He knows the game up and down. His personality fits this day and age's players. You look at some of the older managers and they haven't been able to adjust to the way that people are these days, and the old school screaming at people and, the punishment stuff doesn't work. I mean, you want to have good leadership and discipline, but you want the players to be the ones that are in charge of the discipline and following the rules. I mean, you're not going to chase them around with a ruler. I think he does a good job with that. A lot of us felt like when Joe Maddon was towards the end of his time with the Cubs, that the players just kind of had too laid back of a mentality, right? Like that they didn't go out there and give it 100% every night. You felt like guys were taking days off. I never feel like that with the Cubs since David Ross has been there. And look, I love Joe Maddon. I mean, I think he's awesome too. He's a Hall of Famer, but it just felt like things started to kind of slip away. David Ross has come in and he has done the best, I think, that he could possibly do with the roster. And at the end of the day, what matters is the players, the way that the players play, the way that they go out there and perform. And if they're not getting it done, it's not the manager's fault. And there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that we don't always know about. You complain about how the bullpen's being used and how pitchers are being left in games or taken out too early. Some of that stuff's determined by the front office. Front offices really do a lot of the things that managers used to do, including setting up the lineup, and they'll tell them, how long a guy's going to pitch and what guy's available and not available. And they use a lot of analytics. So the guy that actually pointed that out to me was Pete Rose. Talking with Pete, a few years ago when I was in Vegas, and he's like, it takes a special guy to be able to manage. And Pete was a really good manager in the big leagues before he got kicked out of baseball. And I don't know that his mentality would work as a manager in this day and age, but David Ross's does. And I feel like as this team grows and gets better, he's going to grow and get better with them. And the other thing, Charlie, and everyone else that's hanging out with us, if you fired him, then you got to go find somebody else. And who's that somebody else? I mean, look at all these other teams. Look at the Cardinals. I mean, they can't find a manager. They can't figure it out. And there's a lot of other teams that are like that. I feel like that David Ross is a Cub. I think that he knows how to win. And I think that as the roster gets better, he's going to continue to win, and he'll get better at his job as well.